that conduct these important examinations for secondary school students to begin computer-based testing by next year. And according to the minister, the examination computer-based testing, that's CBT as it is often called, the objective aspect of the examination, the administration of it will start this November, that is November this year, while the essay component of the examinations and other aspects will be effective by May or June next year, that's 2026. And given the environment we have around us, do we have the necessary information and communication technology, that is ICT infrastructure, that can support computer-based examinations in our country, especially at the secondary school level? The experiment that is currently being done with JAMB, how successful has it been? Our educational system doesn't need computer-based testing at this time. What does the country need to put in place to ensure that when this directive take effect, it is implemented seamlessly? The educational stakeholders, as well as parents and those in the ICT sector, what do they need to do? These are the issues we shall try to find answers to on this edition of Perspectives, which I have been joined here in the studio by two experts who will offer insights on this subject matter. First, Engineer Kenneth Wanshe is an ICT expert in the Directorate of Information and Communication Technology, that's ICT Directorate, at the Joseph Sawataka University, Makudi, and he has joined us on this edition. Welcome to Perspectives, Engineer Wanshe.
Good morning to you and good morning, dear listeners.
Thank you very much. We also have joining us on this edition an educationist. He's an educational administrator. He is the Vice Principal, Unique Secondary School, New GRA, here in Makudi, Christopher Akile. Welcome to the program, Mr. Akile. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, presenter. I'm happy to be here.
All right. My name is Nathaniel Nongu, welcoming you to this Wednesday edition of Perspectives. And if this is your first time tuning into the program, we'd like to inform you that Perspectives is audience participatory. At 10 o'clock, we allow you, the listener, to call in and offer your thoughts on what we are discussing from your point of view. The number through which you can reach us on the program is 0814-335-9292. I'd like to take it again, 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the SMS line is also available and you can also utilize it to participate on the program. The number for SMS is 0912-699-9404. Again, 0912-699-9404. It's also available on WhatsApp for you to join the conversation. You may join us by logging on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us via that means and access other content of Agate Radio as well. We are available on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where our content is streaming. You may also download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, and it's also on Apple Store where you can have it on your iOS devices. We're available on all these platforms to serve you beyond boundaries. Remember, we are discussing an ICT component of the program today, and Agate Radio is fully digitally ICT compliant to serve your needs. Stay with us as we take a short breather, and when we are back, our discussion begins. Don't go away, please. Welcome back from that short break. Let me begin with you, Engineer Wanshe. As I mentioned in my introduction, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced this directive of the federal government Monday this week when he was supervising the ongoing Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) administered by JAMB. He said effective next year, WAEC and NECO should be computer-based CBT, the same approach as JAMB is practicing. As an ICT expert, how did you receive this directive being made to the Nigerian public by the federal government?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nathaniel. It's a welcome development. On the one hand, when processes or procedures go in the way of ICT, it makes them smoother and easier to process and to run. But given the terrain of Nigeria today, we have some challenges to embracing this NECO and WAEC, making it fully computer-based. For JAM is a one-off exam, which is just written once. But when it comes to WAEC or NECO, candidates are expected to come for about 8 subjects or more. This means they'll have to write the CBT exams 8 times. They have to have 8 encounters, and this may put pressure on the current infrastructure which we currently have. And we don't have stable electricity. We don't have stable electricity. We have issues of computer hardware and network challenges and other related infrastructural challenges. So I think it's a welcome development, but it's coming too early, or they should have taken time. Maybe run it with using the pilot aspect of it, which is the CBT, which he intends for it to commence by towards the end of this year.
Yes, that's November this year. He mentioned the objective component of the examination.
Yes, the objective components of the exam is welcome, but the other aspects of the exams, which is like essay, when it comes to like drawing, like technical drawing, you have to draw. Even English language, you have a component which is essay writing. That way, candidates are expected to express themselves better when it comes to those traditional ways of exams. If you look at even very advanced countries, in China, the exams which they are equivalent of NECO or JAM, NECO or WAEC, is administered traditionally. Germany, the UK, China, and some other advanced countries, they have not, with all the technology and all the infrastructure on ground, they have not taken to full and to computer-based testing. They still administer these exams traditionally. So it's better to have to have the infrastructure on ground for us here running fully before we can then go into it. If you look at, they have about 2 million candidates for, let's say for JAM, 2 million candidates put in for JAM, about 2 million or thereabout, and there are about 800 centers. I don't know how they will be able to cope with the population of NECO and WAEC. Yes, given that these exams are more rigorous. They are far more rigorous than the JAM exams. So it's a welcome development, but it has to be taken gradually for it to work properly.
All right. Now, Mr. Akile, you are an educational administrator, especially at the secondary school level where the students take this examination. Talk to us how the federal government's directive that WAEC and NECO should be computer-based, how the news came to you as an educational administrator.
Thank you very much for the question. Personally, the news came to me with mixed feelings. The reason being that why we commend the federal government for this initiative, because it has a lot of positives. It will help to check, most importantly, the level of malpractice that has become a trend in the writing of this exam. And so it came as a welcome development in that perspective. But the other side of it is the readiness of the government, like my colleague here said, in terms of the infrastructure and the manpower to be able to run this exam. Because at the moment we have the federal government through JAM writing these exams at the CBT level. In the past, it was not like that. It used to be a pen and paper exam until the government decided that JAM, for instance, should be CBT. Now, I feel that for the government to be able to take this kind of decision, it must have assessed what is currently happening with JAM, how are they running it, what are the challenges, how can they improve on the infrastructure to be able to hit the ground running. In fact, this was supposed to come up in 2027 from the information that we got before now. So for the minister to decide that the whole thing is coming up by 2026, I feel they have plans on their part to ensure that the takeoff is very smooth. And if that is the case, I think it is a welcome development. It will help to check malpractice and other sharp practices that are usually associated with these exams. And if the infrastructure and the technical know-how and whatever is involved is put in place, then I think it is a welcome development.
All right. Now, with that said, Engineer Wanshi, you are in the ICT sector. Do we have the necessary infrastructure that will support this if fully implemented for computer-based testing for WAEC and NECO in schools across the country?
I seriously don't think we may have the infrastructure to support JAM, but presently I don't think we have the infrastructure to flawlessly support WAEC and NECO, since these exams are rigorous in nature, and it's not one of just like JAM. So we don't have there's an infrastructural deficit which has to be addressed in terms before we can fully go into this. But as for a test for CBT, using taking exams, the CBT aspects of the exams, they could have components of the exam taken as CBT. That one is highly commendable. But the other traditional ways of the exams, which are like the essay writing and drawings and sketches and other aspects of the exams, I think there should be a hold on that for now. So the exams will be kind of a hybrid. The exam should come as a hybrid, CBT and the traditional way.
Okay, so in terms of infrastructure, what exactly do you suppose or recommend that should be put in place, especially at the secondary school level, for such a policy to be implemented?
Okay. There's no way you can run ICT or ICT-related activities without electricity. Electricity is a very big challenge for the country. So I think the challenge of electricity should be addressed with renewable energies like solar backup systems, and because of it, even the cost, you're also looking at the cost of we have band A, band B, and the rest.
Yes.
But it's not just having the bands. How available is the electricity and how reliable is the electricity? Because you can't be writing an exam and then we have a power outage. It will affect the exams. So the first things first, provision of adequate power to secondary schools or CBT centers, which will be designated for these exams. Then provision of computers, and network for this for the administration of these processes. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Now, Ms. Akile, talk to us. You are in the school system, so you should know better. Do you think schools have the infrastructure to support this when it is implemented for computer-based testing WAEC and NECO for the schools?
Okay, thank you very much. At the moment, from my experience and what I have seen so far, I don't think the schools have the necessary infrastructure to be able to execute this plan of the federal government. Now, even in Makodi, if you go around to take statistics, you will discover that if you take a sample of 100 schools, maybe just 10 or thereabout may have the infrastructure to be able to run this program. For CBT to be done, I don't really know how the government intends to do it. Whether it is going to be done at the school levels or it will be done across the various CBT centers like it is done with JAM. But I feel that at the school levels, the government will need to give a lot of support. In fact, from the briefing that we received hitherto to the commencement of the 2025 WAEC exams, we were told that by August, September this year, the officials from WAEC and NECO will be going around schools to do a survey of their ICT facilities and the other things that must be put in place for these exams to be carried out. If that is the case, the question is, why do we make a pronouncement when we have not gone around to check to be sure of the facilities that can be able to run this exam? Because without the facilities, I don't think it will be possible to run this exam. Now, outside of Makodi, we have some of the local government in the rural areas. I don't know if they can afford 5 computers. In fact, I have the opportunity recently to be a supervisor in one of the NECO exams. And as I went around to supervise this exam, I went to certain schools where the exam for some of the days were supposed to be ICT based, data processing, computer science, and all of that. And to the greatest of my surprise, we went to some certain schools that had about 40, 50 candidates for such exams and could only make available maybe 5 to 10 systems. So if such schools are now supposed to go in for CBT for WAEC and NECO, how are they going to cope? I think it's going to be a challenge. So for the government to be able to implement this, I think it will need to put in a lot of resources to ensure that the schools are fully funded in ICT, the computers, the network, the whatever that is required to ensure that the exam is a success must be put in place before the implementation can be done. Now, if the exam may be written like it is done for JAM, then it means the CBT centers that we have around must be expanded to be able to accommodate the number of students that usually put in for WAEC and NECO exams. Now, if you look at JAM, like my colleague here said, about 2 million candidates put in for JAM this year. Now, if you compare that with the number of students that we put in for WAEC and NECO, I don't think the thing can go very smooth if the government do not put in efforts to make provisions for infrastructure that can be able to support this initiative. Like we are saying, the program, the initiative is a good one. The infrastructure to run it is the problem. So if the government can put all of that in place, then it means the government is good to go. And I think it will yield the desired result.
Now, Engineer Wanshe, earlier on you mentioned for JAM, if I got you correctly, about 800 existing CBT centers which are available for JAM. Supposing that number were to deploy in conducting WAEC and NECO, will it be sufficient? Will it serve? Or will every school need its own individual CBT center before such examinations of WAEC and NECO could be administered seamlessly?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. 800, I wouldn't know the actual number that we'll be putting in for WAEC and NECO, but the number is obviously going to be larger than what JAM, the number of candidates who put in for JAM. the infrastructure on ground will be overwhelmed when it comes to NECO and JAM and WAEC. Given that JAM is a one-off exam, WAEC and NECO, the candidates will come back on other days to take other subjects independently, and this may overwhelm the system. And as it is now, WAEC and NECO is administered at the level of secondary schools. Secondary schools administer this exam, not at the CBT centers. So obviously, by the time you say you make it such that only CBT centers will be used, it's not only going to create inconvenience for the candidates, but the venues may not be adequate for those exams to be carried out. So, to carry out these exams, they should make it such that the exams are carried out at the way it's currently carried out at the level of secondary schools. So the secondary schools should be equipped with the necessary infrastructure to carry this exam, so that to reduce the stress and pressure on candidates who will have to travel to a particular place where they have access to CBT centers, which there are about 800 of them across the country as it is presently. Thank you.
All right. Now, Mr. Akile, let's look at the benefits of this policy, if at all implemented. Because sometimes federal government or government generally sometimes mention things, but eventually they are not implemented. If this is implemented, to what extent do you think it will impact on proper administration of examinations, WAEC and NECO, in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much. The benefits are enormous. Let me begin this way. I was a student that wrote JAM when it was pen and paper. And my experience that time and what I saw around the venue showed that so many irregularities went on during that time. Now, for JAM, for instance, the exam coming to CBT is a plus for them because it has almost eliminated examination malpractice that was usually perpetrated those days of pen and paper, because there were issues of impersonation and so many things that happened around that time. Now, if WAEC and NECO will key into this, the first benefit is that it will reduce examination malpractice. We have cases where candidates go in for exams, and the best way they are planning to write that exam is by malpractice. It's either candidate A is sitting with B with the aim of liaising together.
Yes.
It will check that. Or there are candidates that have people from outside with the plan that these people can supply them with certain things that can help them to write the exam. Now, when it is CBT,
What you call leakage or
yes,
chips.
leakage,
Or
chips,
those,
yeah. Those things are still playing out.
Yes.
Now, when it is CBT, it is almost eliminated. And the second advantage is that it will check impersonation, because at the point of registration, there is a fingerprint. Before you sit for this exam, another fingerprint is done. So if the imposter will come in a way that he or she may want to write for somebody, that process can be able to check to ensure that the person writing the exam is the original person that registered for that exam. And then another advantage is that the environment inside of the hall is made very conducive. In a situation where students sit to write this exam, maybe in a classroom situation, you will understand that there are cases where the class may go lousy because of cases of wanting to get an idea from somebody or the other. But when it is CBT, everybody is focused because it is time bound. By the time you want to go looking for A or B, your time is ticking. So the advantage is there, and I think it will help to check some of these things I am talking about if it is actually implemented. Thank you.
All right, Engineer Wanshe, one of these years, I think 1 or 2 years ago, it was rumored, I don't know how truthful it was, but of course there was information making round that even UTME, some questions were leaked. The candidates were accessing into a particular site to have access to questions from UTME. Is IT infrastructure or ICT infrastructure, if implemented in WAEC, will it remove that? Or do you foresee a situation where some smart brains may even break the codes, hack into where questions are as a drawback to this policy of getting it go computer-based, if we are to remove or eliminate irregularities, as your colleague pointed out?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I'm not particularly aware of such such incidents which happened, but no system is full is 100% secure. The integrity of the exams will be enforced with the use of ICT to secure it using strong encryptions and firewalls and all other tools to make sure that the system is not hacked. Though there's no system which is 100% foolproof.
Okay, so talk to us more about the benefits in terms of ICT, making our examinations go computer-based. Beyond the educational benefits of it, in terms of ICT, what are the benefits that you think, if implemented, could drive the sector in Nigeria?
Well, one of the benefits is it eliminates human error. Human error is being eliminated, and the time it takes to process the scores is a lot faster than if human beings are going to take time to mark and collate and compute the scores. And then there's transparency to some level, to a large extent. There will be transparency, and just like my colleague says, it will reduce malpractice. Like a student looking over the shoulder, even when candidates are within the same hall, the questions will not be the same questions at the same time, or the options may differ.
Yes, what they call in jam paper type.
Yes, so it will be different types. So even when candidates are sitting side by side, the issue of giraffing would be eliminated. Or basically, it will reduce malpractice, thereby ensuring the integrity of the exams.
Yeah, I think that component you mentioned, well, if it sees the light of the day, it may be possible, because like UTME now, I think candidates sees the scores almost just a few days after taking the exams, as against the pen and paper when it was, or the way it was that time. You have to wait for a long time to see the results and all of that. Dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you've been listening to Perspectives on iGate Radio 95.5 Star FM. Makudi, we are discussing the federal government's directive for computer-based testing for WAEC and NECO, effective next year. And you can also participate on the program later at 10 o'clock by phoning in on the number 0814-335-9292 to lend your voice to the conversation. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the SMS line is already activated. You may utilize it. The number is 0912-699-9404. Again, I take the number 0912-699-9404. Kindly remember to include your full name and where you're sending your message from. Let's know what you feel about this policy. Is it a good one? And will it see the light of the day? And if it sees the light of the day, what best can be done to sustain it? And that leads me to you, Mr. Akile. Now, we talked about having the infrastructure in place. Do we have the manpower in our schools? People, maybe an example of your school. Do we have the manpower people who have the ICT knowledge, know-how to guide the students in this process?
Okay, thank you very much. In my own school, to start with, where I come from, I am not advertising, but
no, if you're advertising, definitely, but by the time you leave, marketing will give you an invoice.
Yeah, but in my own school, where I come from,
yes,
ICT is near perfection. It's we are fully ICT compliant, and it is reflecting in the so many things that we do that are ICT based, from admission, from writing of exam. In fact, students going to write exam on CBT in my own place is already a very small thing, because before they go for such exams, they must have been acclimatized with everything that is involved in that kind of exam. So the problem of compliance in schools can be another factor that may hinder the smooth takeoff of this initiative. Because like I said earlier, if you go around Makurdi, for instance, where it is in the township, where it is also expected that schools within the township should have more infrastructure than the others, you will discover that in a school sample of 100, only maybe 10 to 20 may have the facilities, and then may be ICT compliant, may have people that can be able to run such systems. So in the implementation of this initiative, there will be a lot of problem getting the manpower to be able to run this initiative. So what the government will do is to also have a plan that can get people to be trained so that they can be able to manage this initiative. You know, saying it is a different thing, and then working towards implementing it is another different thing. It is easier to say, but sometimes it's very difficult to implement. So the government will need to put in place a lot of resources that can help to train the manpower that can be able to run what it is actually proposing. If that is not the case, the facilities may be there, but the people to run it effectively may be in acute shortage.
All right. So, Engineer Wanshe, from the ICT perspective, what kind of capacity building the schools need to have preparedness for the implementation of this policy?
All right, thank you very much for the question. I suppose talking of human capacity.
Very well.
Okay, the human capacity.
Be it human or technical, whichever.
Technical capacity, and yes, we have the capacity. We may not have it skewed to a particular area of CBT, but boot camps can be organized. Boot camps of 1 or 2 weeks can be organized, whereby people are trained specifically on the administration of these exams. So the human capacity is not really a challenge. The issue is how to engage them, the resources to engage them so that they can be put to use. So human capacity is highly available.
Okay, so when you say human capacity is available, and do we need upskilling? Because the human capacity may be available in some of the schools, but of course, not any school may have experimented having their students tested through CBT. So what kind of particular technical know-how they need to have at this time that federal government is saying, look, effective next year, WAEC and NECO should go CBT?
Just like I said, they have to put it in place. The upskilling in the area of specific skills, related ICT skills, which relate directly to CBT.
Yes,
have to be the boot camps. The boot camps are organized. These are short training programs, skilled particularly to a particular for a particular skill set. So this the human capacity is there. It's just it's not going to be so rigorous trainings. It to be trainings that are a good number of them, I believe, already have general basic ICT knowledge on how to use a computer, how to use a mouse. So those ones can be have the introductory or elementary trainings conducted for those. Then the ones which the advanced, intermediate, and advanced trainings will be conducted for a few. Those who will manage directly the technology. That's the CBT applications, the local area networks, the servers. These ones are going to be IT personnel, and their training could be in that area. But the general training, for which is basic training for every other staff of the institutions or secondary schools, could be conducted in a very short period of time, given a week or two, whereby a boot camps are organized, and this is facilitators move in and put them through.
All right. Now, Mr. Akile, the federal government's plan of having this come in phases, beginning with the objectives component of the examination and later ASA also joining to be full CBT. For students, do you think getting the exam through CBT will actually test their knowledge in real sense, especially the essay component? Because the tendency is there of some students may not even see a computer throughout their school life, and in the end you are subjecting them to CBT examination. How do you think that we actually test them, their real knowledge?
Okay, thank you very much. The initial stage of this implementation, in my own thinking, may suffer a lot of a setback, especially for the students. Like you rightly mentioned, we have some students in so many schools that have not seen the computer before. I remember, for instance, in my school days when we used to learn computer and it's just an empty carton put before us, and they just teach you that this is a computer, this is a CPU, this is a keyboard. If you want to boot, you press this button and all of that.
Yes.
The practicality was not done. So if you now subject students at that level to that kind of exam, then I see failure at the beginning, because they have been so used to the traditional way of pen and paper, and that is what they have been planning to do when they get to that stage. So this kind of sharp move from the tradition of pen and paper into the CBT may not be very smooth for the people that will be in the pilot phase. But I believe that as we make progress in the implementation, a lot of positives can come out of it. I believe so, because by then even the schools must have seen how serious the government is about the computer thing. You know, sometimes when you start a thing like this, people may think or may take the thing for granted. But as the implementation unfolds, even schools that may feel that they don't have the capacity to develop an ICT unit or center in their schools may begin to think otherwise. And if that be the case, I think trainings like my colleague said can also begin to come up, especially for the students. I know that every year there are some candidates that will go for a computer practice at least a week or two before they sit for a JAM exam. Such candidates don't have a choice. Left to them alone, this thing would have been pen and paper. But because of the necessity of taking it as a CBT, they really need to go get those skills that can help them to write these exams. And that is what I think should be done at that level. And then in JAM, there is what we call mock JAM. Maybe before the main exam, WAEC and NECO can prepare a mock kind of exam so that the candidates can have a test run of it. They can have an idea of what it means to write an exam CBT using the mouse, using the keyboards and all of that. The other part of it, I don't see how this exam can be written, the essay can be written on the computer. I don't really know how they want to do it, whether you will write, snap, and post, or I don't know.
Or you type on the keyboard right before you.
Yeah.
And maybe back in the day, sometimes like English comprehension, you are given write a letter to your uncle living abroad, even though you don't have an uncle living abroad, in 400 words or 500 words. So imagine the speed. Maybe a student who does not even have the speed of typing, and the exams are time bound. I'm just asking you to speak.
That is where I see failure.
Yes.
That is where I see massive failure. Because even if a candidate can be able to type, what about the speed? The speed is another factor. Knowing where to locate the keys can count, but the speed also counts a lot. And then, like an engineer mentioned, there are papers that has to do with drawings, plotting of graphs, and all of that. If you put all of that into such exam and then you expect that it should be on the computer, I see a lot of challenge. I am a physics teacher, and in our own exam, one aspect of it is the practicals. How do you conduct practicals on the computer? It's very difficult.
All right, where you identify specimens.
Yes, in biology you identify specimens. So how do you go about all of that?
Okay.
You know, so I see a challenge in the takeoff. I see failure from the student because they may not be used to the whole thing from the onset. Of course, a few schools may excel because it may already be their trend. They are already ICT compliant, and going into CBT for WAEC and NECO may not be a problem for them, but a majority will fail.
Anyway, let's look more into it. Now, Engineer Wanshi, do you think the policy is well thought out by the government, is giving some of the loopholes that your colleague on the program is pointing out, especially having to conduct some aspects of the exams that are a bit more technical, like the practical? As a student, you see the object before you, and some courses, some of the subjects, you are even meant to mix chemicals like physics, chemistry, biology. Sometimes you titrate what, right? You mix
Yes.
reagents. How
Yes.
do you achieve that in a CBT based examination?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the government should have a rethink in this regard. They could make it a hybrid. It mustn't be 100% CBT.
Okay.
Yes, some aspects or components of the exams should be taken the traditional way, while other components taken with the use of technology, CBT. So that this will also is to ensure that the exam, the integrity of the exam is maintained. The standard is also maintained. Like I earlier mentioned, countries which are even more advanced than Nigeria, their equivalent of NECO and WAEC is done the traditional way, pen and paper. Countries like China, Germany, the UK, and the rest. So I think they should make it a hybrid. Just the same way, just like they want to make the pilot aspect of it coming by November, around November, which is going to be, the objectives will be taken by way of CBT. Then by next year, May, June, full 100% CBT. They should go ahead and make it a hybrid exam, so that some components will be done traditionally, while other components will be done with the CBT.
All right. Now, Ms. Akile, if it is combined as a hybrid, will the aim be achieved, as suggested by your colleague?
Okay, that is writing.
A component of it being pen and paper based, and another being CBT.
Yes, I think I share his own view, because in my own thinking, I feel that the other aspect of it that has to do with writing with pen and paper, conducting practical, should be done the traditional way, and then the OBJ, the objectives, can be CBTized. I think if the OBJ is CBTized, like we mentioned earlier, it will help check malpractice. The process will be very fast, provided the infrastructure to run it is there. And then, if that is the case, the other aspect of it can actually go traditional, so that the students can be able to express themselves better.
Yes.
I don't know how they planned to do it. If I have an idea, I think I should be able to respond better. But I feel that from my own end, I see a lot of difficulty in doing that. But for the CBT in the objective, it's already part of what they're doing in JAM. I think almost all the candidates are already getting used to it. If you go to most of the tertiary institutions, they have also deployed that as a way of writing the exams where the number is much, but it's just in the OBJ. If that is the case, these exam bodies can now deploy, if their idea is to check malpractice, which I think they can deploy other means of checking malpractice in the essay and then the practicals. That is what I think. Because the number one advantage I see in this is that it will help check malpractice. It will check a lot of that.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is that the essay and the practicals and the other aspect of it will suffer a lot of setback if they are put on the CBT.
All right. Now, Engineer Wanshe, in terms of getting, well, we may not know how these computer-based examinations are marked. Are the results, of these examinations generated from the computer, or it requires a human contact with the computer to produce the result of what candidates have written, the jam that has been going on, as an example,
Okay,
from your experience?
Thank you very much for the question. It requires human input. For initially, uploading the questions requires human input. The questions are uploaded onto the server, after which the exams candidates are able to access the computers through their personal through workstations or computers. They are not actually accessing the exams from that computer. The computer is just an interface for them to access the exams on the server from a central server or a local server, depending. The servers could be central or could be local. After which the exams are extracted, the results are extracted and then uploaded to the exam portal.
Okay, and the result is almost always accurate of what is meant to be the product of the examination taken by the candidates or the students.
Yes, as what the candidates, what the input, whatever the candidates input, the output is generated accordingly.
All right.
It's just the computer, just the way computer was garbage in, garbage out.
Okay.
So it's what the candidates put in that it gets out as output.
All right. Now, Mr. Akile, sometimes WAEC and NECO, when it is written, is also a source for examiners. People go pick question papers and apply for marking. If we go CBT, I'm sure it will run some people out of work. And ICT will take over. With that, how will that impact the educational system?
Yes, thank you very much. I think...
and the accuracy, integrity of the results, which you also talked about earlier.
Yes, I myself will also lose out because I am one of the examiners for physics.
Oh, I see.
And I have been enjoying the stipend for some time now. We really feel bad when everything goes CBT and then we are not able to go get the stipend like it used to be. But I think outside of that, we're looking at the advantage
very well
of putting this infrastructure on ground. So the advantage supersedes the disadvantage. So we may not only get the opportunity to mark and get the stipend, but the advantage of getting it on CBT cannot be overemphasized. And to add to what he said, for instance, in my own school, we do our OBJ on the CBT. The idea is that it will get the students to be used to the CBT.
Okay.
In fact, before you go for JAM, you know what it means to sit on the computer, navigate through, go through the questions, select your answers and all of that. And then secondly, it is timed. And then thirdly, once you submit that exam, the computer marks and then provides the result. If you want it instant, you set it. It's just a question of settings. If you don't want it instant, you allow them to write. You now come and sit as the teacher. You assess it, print, and proceed. It will save us the stress of sitting down to mark the OBJ. So we have the advantage of not marking the OBJ. The marking is done by the computer. It makes the whole work to be very fast, and then the students get to get themselves used to what CBT is all about. We only sit back and do the marking of essay and the practicals, which is what we are thinking should be done by WAEC and NECO.
All right, that's fine. And well, so many institutions sometimes think of experimenting this, like INEC. Sometimes they talk about collation of result, having to feed it into the portal. And the last election was quite a controversial issue that the portal or INEC IREF result viewing portal somewhere not uploaded accurately. But anyway, we'll look at the pros and cons of it more as we go on. And we'll take a short breather at this time. And when we are back, we'll start engaging with you, dear listener. Kindly stay with us. Welcome back from that short break there, listener, and we're glad to know you are still staying with us. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on iGate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. We are discussing the federal government's directive for computer-based testing for WAEC and NECO. And you can participate on the program. Let's know what you feel. Lend your voice to the conversation. Calling on the number 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, we're interested in knowing your full name and where you are calling in from. Then you make your submission. Please keep it very brief. The SMS line is also available, 0912-699-9404. Hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nathan. Good morning, guests in the house. My name is Dave S. calling from KN, Kano, northwest part of Nigeria this morning.
To have you join us, Steve Akiluke.
Thank you for anchoring this program and bringing this topic, the radio. And to me, my view, if federal government, they can sit and think on this very issue or very project that they want to embark next year. To me, most of our rural school now, if you go, even the structure are dilapidated, talk about the ICT. So how can, by the time that you will bring this thing, CB test for WAEC and NECO, how effective that the people or the student will pass? That is one question one. Most of our rural school, some of them, they don't have knowledge on computer. So how can you bring something that a student in the rural area who don't have light, who they don't have computer accessory, or they don't use to teach them computer at all, you want them to pass exam? To me, this is a setback. If this project is going to materialize, I think most of the students will not make it in this WAEC. So to me, they should have rethink before they will pass on or bring this into our students. That is my take this morning.
Right, thank you very much for your take. We appreciate your contribution. Government should think through the policy properly before its implementation. Thanks for calling in, and he also shared the same concerns, Kenneth, you were raising earlier about the infrastructure in terms of electricity, equipping the computers.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nathaniel Nongo.
Thank you. Some perspectives.
This is Adjo Avanes calling from Donor State University.
Hello.
Hello,
good morning.
The initiative by the federal...
Quite unfortunate we are not able to... you're on, but we could barely hear you coming through. The number is available, 0912-699-9404, 0814-335-9292. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Nathaniel. This is Friday Obodo calling from International Market Road.
All right, Friday Obodo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. Thanks to the guests in the studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. It is a good idea that the Ministry of Education has also given a matching order, which is also a good idea. But one of the things that should first be done is to ensure that all the secondary schools are computer literate, in the sense that not just from the secondary school, the primary schools also should have also begin to comply that every student in the school should be attached to a PC so that they have knowledge of what they are supposed to do when it comes to writing NECO or WAEC. The vision is very laudable. It is achievable. The impact outweighs the limitations. But federal government should, in compliance with the Ministry of Education at all the state level, ensure that all the secondary schools that are registering for WAEC had complied first by making sure that all those secondary schools, the student within those schools, has computer to be able to even have the basic knowledge of doing a CBT test when it comes to their exams. If that is not done, like one of the guests has said, it is a student that will suffer it because it will be difficult for them to be able to even score the required point. Not to even talk about speed. So first of all, government should at all levels ensure all secondary schools have computer, that the teachers, people from Ministry of Education will also go around to monitor these schools to ensure that the schools are also complied with the basic standard. It is not just going in for the exams. It is preparing for the exam, because if you fail to plan, you also plan to fail. So let them be able to, first of all, implement the first measure, ensuring schools have the computer, be able to do what is necessary before they come to the exam. By that, they will be able to achieve it. And it is also a good way forward. But all the exams cannot be taken on the computer. Some of the exams which require practical mixing of chemicals and all of that, are required for students to also carry out that. So all of them cannot be done at the same time. But first of all, let measures be ensured that all secondary schools have computers to their students before they'll be able to implement this. By this, achieving the goal by 2026 will just be something that you will do at a peak of light. So that's my contribution. Minister of Education, thank you for setting the base, but make sure that you meet the requirement before you conduct the exams. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Friday Obodo. God bless you too, and thank you for your contribution. We appreciate it. We believe the authorities are listening and should key into it. It needs not just the Minister of Education, but also the state ministries of education to find a way of keying in. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, my regard to the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Moses Anu, calling from Manu Village in Makodi.
All right, Moses Anu, talk to us.
Yes, the topic you people are discussing is very, very vital and very important. To me, I welcome the idea, but the federal government is saying in 2026 they will start the program. I don't think that will be possible, because like some other callers say, if you have this idea of bringing this kind of a program, you start from, you have a plan that maybe for at least 10 years back, train those teachers that will handle this, and then you train the students how to handle computer. Because from if you go to my village now, from JSS3 to SS3, if you ask them about computer, nobody will tell you this is the computer. They will only see computer on a paper. So if you say you want to start the program in 2026, I don't think that will even work. If not, it's a very welcome development that will reduce those miracle centers where candidates go to some the local school to go and write exams and get the credit and the distinction. But bringing it in 2020, I don't think that will be possible because it's too early, and that will even create room for my practice again, because some parents will be fighting to pay money so that somebody will write for their children. So if federal government can have a rethink and start planning ahead, not 2026, it will help. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moses, for calling in. All right. Federal government should think it thoroughly so that we don't introduce malpractice in something we are trying to also use to curb malpractice. And it's true, some parents can, out of pressure, do that. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives. Let's know your name and where you are calling from.
This is Daniel calling from New Jersey, yes.
Daniel, who?
To me, that is a welcome development, but...
Hello, Daniel. Let's know your full name before you go on.
Zeremo Daniel, sir.
Zeremo Daniel, Doctor.
To me, it's a welcome development, but at least I've known Nigeria to some extent now. Anytime you see something going on like this, there is somebody somewhere trying to manipulate a contract that will earn him some millions of naira or something like that. But that is just by the way. It's a welcome development. And this initiative that they are bringing, it will mostly affect government schools, which is when you go to government schools, it's very hard you see computers there, even if they are there, they don't even care. That is just it. So I'm calling on the Ministry of Education, from the state levels, that they should try to empower this, make sure that everything is in place, not just initiating that they should start writing exams or something like that. So they should make sure that everything is in place. The students should, get used to it, so before they will start bringing in the decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for calling in. Well, it's common with us Nigerians. We have suspicion for Daniel is having a suspicion that maybe somebody is really interested in this big contract of getting CVT, and that is why they are pushing it. But we should hope we give it the benefits of doubt and see how it's being explored. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Oh, quite unfortunate. You are on, but your voice is not coming through. 0814-335-9292. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Nathaniel. Good morning, analyst in the studio.
Thank you. Let's know.
My name is Adzu calling from Westgate, Toronto State University.
Adzu Fanen.
Right.
Did you say Adzu Fanen?
Adzu Fanen.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. The initiative by the federal government is quite a development, because we must not continue to stay or remain in the traditional way of our educational system, the pen and paper, just like the analysts have been analyzing. We must see the need to navigate from the old or the traditional mode to the digital world, because the world is fertilizing every day. So it's just a wake-up call to institutions that will rise above the traditional mode. However, there will be setback, just like Ministry had earlier said, in the pilot stage. There will be setback, but at least we need to wake up and navigate our educational system to the international practices, the digital world. Because you see now, every now and then, the world is navigating from the digital world. I mean, from the traditional world to the digital world. So it's a wake-up call to institutions. So I think the initiative will impact significantly to the lives of the populace and, of course, institutions. So I'm of the opinion that these policies should be fully implemented. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Azuavane. We appreciate you for calling in. Thanks for your contribution. The policy should be implemented. We should go digital. The world is going digital. We should also key into, which is what I think the government is trying to do as well. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Emeka Anyok from North Bank, Makurdi, Benue State.
All right.
Yes, I am of the opinion that this new policy that they are talking about is a welcome development. I even wanted it to start this time because in Nigeria today, no time. Because even if you give them 100 years, people will still complain. At least for 1 year, it will make the Minister of Education to buckle up. It will make the Federal Minister of Education to buckle up. And the schools will buckle up. It will reduce miracle centers. Our children will start learning. My dear brother, did you see what is happening in this jam? Many children, you see that by 6:30, some people were waking up to go for their centers to write their exams. And with all these things that are coming, it has started reducing so many malpractices in this country. And it's helping people. Miracle centers have taken. Some children cannot defend their what they have studied. I think all these things, if Nigerians mean what they are saying, I would have loved it to stand now because it will help us. But if you say tomorrow, next tomorrow, every day, it will not work. If this Federal Minister of Education have said, the minister have said, let them start. And that is a wake-up call to all schools, whether you are private school or you are staying in the rural areas or wherever you are. This will make you now to stand up and start thinking how you can put computers in your schools, how you can repair your schools. If you're a private school owner, if you're a government school, government should do something and make sure that all that we need, all this solar and electricities are available so that these people can do. It can push us up. So I am of the opinion that what the minister says should start even now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your opinion. We appreciate you, Emeka Anyok. Thanks for calling in. Well, it's about preparing the people. So starting now, there shouldn't be the emphasis, but preparing to get it started correctly. All the same, we appreciate your submission. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nathaniel.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Yeah, good morning, just in the studio. My name is Jonah Benjamin. I'm calling from Nakagwe West.
To have you join us, Jonah Benjamin.
Yes, I really appreciate what the minister did. It's a welcome development. Yes, but my big worry is about this. You know, the worry is about the CBT. It's technical. That's the technical problem. Things like computer grade or.
Hello, Jonah Benjamin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
It can be disrupting exams, causing stress for students. That's my worry about it. I think it's a welcome development for that.
I didn't get you quite correctly, Jonah. Did you say the computer can we do to affect the students in what way? Let's get you clear.
Yes, it can affect them sometimes.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate you for calling in, Jonah Benjamin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. All right. Jonah, I think it's about the literacy maybe he is talking about, because one needs to be computer literate to take at least a basic appreciation of maybe punching the keyboard. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, my name is Peter Killer, calling from Natural State to my local government.
I'm sorry, you are on, but your voice is not coming through. Let's see if we are able to get connected with you. Again, the number available 0814-335-9292. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning, presenter.
Thank you for joining us.
My name is Igbayima Akura, a vision purpose from Banku, Batiagbo, local government.
Right, Igbayima, go ahead. How is Batiav this morning?
The atmosphere is calm and cool, sir.
Good. Have you people started CBT exams in Banaku already?
Not yet. So me, my take on this particular topic of today is that it is a welcome development. I think the positivity will overwhelm the negativity in it if properly articulated and effectively taken care of. Simply because I think the Ministry of Education has started teaching computer in all secondary and primary schools across the board, being in federal or state or local. So it's left for the ministry to be practicalizing the aspect of teaching computer, but the theory there, the pupils or the students are taking it. So this initiative, if appropriately articulated it, I think the state or the federal government will set a space for private ones to queue in terms of deploying the computers. And if there's a way out, let the Ministry of Education help the private institutions to be online in that direction. Doing that, it will help a lot. The positivity will overwhelm the negativity in it. But if not, the
Okay, Igbayima, thank you very much. We appreciate you for your contribution. Thank you. Igbayima says that the positive aspects of it outweighs and getting private hands join into the CBT. Anyway, we'll talk more about the private people participating in that. Would that drive it properly, the vision? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Peter. I'm calling from National State.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Okay, good morning and welcome to Perspective.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us. Let's know your name and where you are.
My name is Peter Kila. I'm calling from National State, to my local government.
Okay, Peter, welcome.
Yes. I want to sincerely appreciate your guest. You see, for me, I cannot say it is a welcome development. Let me be sincere to you. All these things we have done before and not now. Because if before somebody take a school, or let me just put it in summary, both the government, the public schools, and the private schools, before you have an ID school, you must look at those two things. The place where the students will sit and write and learn, and then the school library is very important. If the public school were well equipped with the school library and the e-library, then what we are discussing today, nobody would have been here discussing it. But because of the failure of school, go to primary school, the public schools, and even both the private, and just go around and see. Ask them, do the students understand what is library? Do they know what is the e-library? They don't know, because the schools are there without library. But if the public schools are established and founded with adequate library, the e-library is very, very important. And that is where you discover that computers are how. I'm telling you the truth. Now, nobody would have been discussing about the issue of CBT, the students to write their WAEC. Everything would have been intact. The student would have had the full knowledge of how to operate the computer system. But those things were not in place. Without the library, I'm telling you, the school and then the students will not excel excellently in academic work. Because that library is a place for research. Both the teachers and students, they always use it to make research so that it will add value to what they are learning.
Okay, Peter.
So government should make sure that all the public schools are with library, the book library and then the e-library.
Thank you very much, Peter. We appreciate you for your contribution. Thanks for calling in. Government should make sure e-library are provided. Maybe with the e-library provided, it could also facilitate computer-based examinations. Thanks so much. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nathaniel.
You. Let's know your name and where you're calling.
Yes, I am Mr. Austin. I'm from Judges Quarters.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, it's a good thing. But let me say that it's not a victory on the side of this country. CBT, multiple choice questions. From our own beginning in the secondary school, we know it to be a game of luck. Remember that one of you at the studio mentioned that even Britain, Germany are still taking the traditional essay exams. And because they knew the best hand can come from essay, what about solving mathematics? That in exam you solve to a certain length, the examiner will look at it for your work and give you a mark, some mark. All these are going to be multiple choice questions. Where somebody who did not even know it will come to the CBT,
Hello, Austin.
And it clears the whole thing. So let Nigeria see, let the federal government see it is not a victory technologically, but the failure to address the malpractices in our exams. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Austin. We appreciate you for calling in. Thanks for your contribution. Well, we'll talk more, like the aspect of mathematics you mentioned. Sometimes mathematics requires a lot of solving. You design calculations, you find X. That was what I was afraid of in mathematics, finding the X and Y. Hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Thank you, sir, for joining us on the program.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Ichawe, and I'm talking to you from North Bank, Hoodco Estate, Makurdi.
Sir, good to have you join us on Perspectives.
Nathaniel, your guests in the studio seem to be speaking from both ends of the mouth. They say it's a welcome development. We are not ready for it. What? Just tell us straight. We are not ready for this DBTC.
I think we are looking at it from all the angles. We are looking at both the advantages, disadvantages. I think my guess they are not speaking from both ends, like you mentioned, sir. Let me hold exceptions for them, sir.
Nathaniel, even the telephone calling here and saying that for quite some time now, the network is so poor, very bad. The electricity is very poor. The ICT infrastructure is nothing to talk about. Apart from that, they say the capacity of personnel is okay. It is not. The students who are going to take this examination, 1/4 of them cannot. I tell you, even the schools in Makurdi here, talk less of schools in the rural areas. Hello?
You are on.
Okay. So this is the one policy that the whole educational system, from NUT to ASU to everybody, should rise against it. You think Britain and China and all these countries don't know that this thing can be done? Why are they not doing it? Because it is not a test, a proper test of the knowledge of the students. It is not. Somebody has just spoken about mathematics. You don't just mark the final answer. See step to step how the person arrived at that answer, and marks are allocated accordingly. Can you do that with CBT? This system, we're just becoming so lazy in this country. Everything objective. We're not putting up a very good product.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
It's very poor. Yes, there are exam practices. Yes, this might solve it. It will not. It will throw us into a more ridiculous way of arriving at which students should go into the university and so forth.
Thank you. We
Yeah,
appreciate your contribution,
I
sir.
want
Thank
to
you very
say,
much.
Nathaniel, I want to say very clearly that this government is doing things that are very bad for the country. They didn't think through the removal of oil subsidy. They didn't think through
Okay,
the
sir, thank you.
floating
For
of the
today, we are
naira.
focusing on CBT. Maybe when we
Yes,
come back
it
to
is
the
the
more
same government doing everything. Do they have to know? Somebody has to tell them that they are failure.
appreciate you,
They have been a big
Thank you,
failure.
sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you for your contribution, sir. Thank you so kindly. In any case, on perspectives, all shares of opinions we accommodate them provided they are in the line of what we are discussing. So to say our guests my panelists are speaking from both sides of the match, maybe we should take an exception to that, because you are also entitled to your opinion as a caller. In fact, we are not mobilizing any stakeholder against what the federal government has given us a directive. We are only looking at the extent to which the policy should be implemented flawlessly in a way that every Nigerian will not find fault with it. And I believe your own input is also counting. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. Oh, lost connection with you. But the number is still available, 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. It's also available on WhatsApp. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello. Oh, yet again, we lost the connection. Well, if you're not able to connect to the call line, simply send an SMS to 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Natalie, sorry, it's Jonathan again. You are low. I just want to tell you that your volume is low. We're not hearing you. So, this is not the agent we have been used to.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Our
you.
technical team
Thank
will
you.
look at. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let you.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That one is outside our immediate discussion for now, but it's an important feedback. Well, let's pause the course temporarily and come back. And I begin with you, Mr. Akire. You have listened to the callers. Some raised concerns even far more than what we looked into, like the aspect of someone who mentioned mathematics. A lot of calculations, as we mentioned, having to find the x, y. In fact, let me confess that finding that x and y, till now, if you ask me to find it, is one of my biggest troubles. Talk to us. The same way, even physics, which you admitted you are a teacher, so many calculations, you link so many things, and you talk to us. If it is in the context of CBT, will the students actually have ample time, ample opportunity to do the calculations in the context and arrive at the answers for the examiners to mark?
Okay, thank you very much. I think some of the callers are not getting the concept like we have it on the table.
Yes.
What we are saying is that there is an exam that has already been on ground, the WAEC and the NECO. And this exam has the objective part of it, which the students have been taking as one of the components that must make up a particular subject. Now, what the government is saying is that this exam should go CBT. Here in the studio, we are supporting that the OBJ should go first, and then the other one can come later on. Now, let's look at JAM for instance. Students go for JAM exam. Mathematics is part of it. And students write, and by the time you see the result, you see a lot of them getting 90-something, 80-something, 70-something down to the list. So it means this thing is doable. The most important thing is the people setting this exam must understand the nature of questions that should go on the CBT. The one that requires simple approach so that their solutions can be obtained. It is applied in mathematics, in physics, and the other calculation-related subjects. So that is what we are saying. For the CBT that is already on pen and paper, we are supporting that. It can actually go online. It can be CBTized. And then the other aspect of it, which is the essay, the essay can be on the traditional way that we know it to be. And in mathematics, what I know is that the marking is in steps, like the person rightly pointed out. The marking is done in steps. You don't just look at the final answer is 2 and then you give marks or you fail it. The thing has to do with where you began, the way you make progress, the way you substitute the formulas down to the final answer. So if the essay is written on paper, then the traditional marking will still continue, where the markers go for coordination and then they mark the exam and they give back the result. But the objective part of it, we are simply supporting that it can go on CBT, provided the government can put in place the necessary infrastructure. That is what we are saying. Thank you.
All right. Now, Engineer Wanshe, another caller also mentioned the possibility of getting private investors, that is even outside the schools, to operate the CBT centers. Would that maintain the integrity of the examinations if it is the CBT centers are in the hands of private sectors and outside even the school environment, from the point of view of yourself as an ICT
person? Thank you very much for that question. It's already happening in the area of JAM. Some private individuals have CBT centers whereby these exams are conducted. So it's not something strange. It's already JAM. Some JAM centers are owned privately by private individuals. They just have the infrastructure. Why the server is from JAM. Why the workstations or the desktops are owned and managed by the center, by the private sector individuals who own these centers. So it's very much doable.
Okay, so it's that is you are saying that even outside the schools environments, the tendency of getting private sector persons to invest in establishing the CBT centers should be there for secondary schools.
It's already happening for JAM.
Okay. Yes. Would you support that approach, Mr. Akile? If WAEC and NECO is to go CBT, as the federal government has directed, will it be proper for the exams to be run outside schools environment and CBT centers that are not affiliated to schools, secondary schools in particular?
Well, in my own opinion, I will suggest that this exam should be run within the school environment. Usually in the pen and paper, the schools provide the examination halls. The students are well seated in the halls. The papers are given to them, and then they're able to write this exam. So if the government now decides that it should be CBT, I am thinking that this facility should be provided in the schools so that the difficulties associated with moving to the CBT centers and all of that can be avoided. You know, for JAM, it's a one-day exam.
Yes.
So no matter the cost you incur for that exam, it's just a one-day exam. But for a candidate writing 9 papers and then subjecting that candidate to going to the centers and coming back may be a challenge. For instance, in this JAM, Makurdi as a catchment area goes as far as Alede. So if a candidate that is in Makurdi is posted to write CBT in Alede for 9 papers, you can imagine the cost. Going to Alede, coming back, going and coming back and all of that. But if the centers are within the schools, it will make the whole thing to be easier. The only thing is that there should be people that are trained to manage these facilities within the school environment so that it is easier for the school and her candidates.
All right, so dear listener, let's also hear from you. Join us on the conversation. We should have loved, I don't know whether schools are in session and students, because we want to hear from the candidates or aspiring candidates, whether they like the CBT approach too. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good Good morning. My name is Akko Patience from Logo One.
All patients, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and make yourself.
My only observation is that if all these exams, every single exam, external exam, is made CBT, as much as insignificant as it may seem, I think it will affect writing skills. And students are encouraged to improve on their writing skills because, like, sometimes when applying for a job, sometimes they ask you to bring a handwritten one. So I think if everything is made CBT, the quality of handwriting to some extent will reduce. So I don't know. That's just my own observation. Because I think that's what helps me personally to develop my writing skills. Because I know that I'm going to write an external exam and my writing has to be neat. So I think it's kind of something that should be also considered. I don't know.
Thank you, Akko Patience. Thank you very much, Akko Patience, for your position. Akko Patience is worried about even the writing. Well, it's true. But if it were by writing a law, maybe doctors wouldn't be employed because I understand that. Anyway, with due respect to my doctor friends, doctors out there, I understand that writing is terrible. But hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello. Okay, not all doctors anyway. But it's true. That's something to not to gloss over. It's quite a serious one. 0814-335-9292. We lost connection with that call. The SMS line is also available. And let's take some messages coming in so far before we continue with the calls and back to the studio again. This one says, guests in the studio, good morning. I so much appreciate the topic of today. My name is Jonah Benjamin from Naka, Gwe West Local Government. For me, it's a welcome development. But my big worry with CBT is technical problems. Things like computer glitches or power cuts can disrupt exams, causing stress for students. Thanks. That's my question. Okay. Thank you, Jonah. I think your question is power glitches and all the cuts. All right. We'll reflect on that. Thank you. Nigeria, as an underdeveloped country, need a healthy cash flow to improve ICT to implement CBT. Good morning. Isaac Utsoa from Sejime in Achiha Goma, local government. Okay, Isaac, thank you for your message. We appreciate you. Those are the concerns coming in so far on the message box. Now, Engineer Wanshe, this CBT and operation of CBT exams, are they internet-based? Are they internet compliant? And the internet infrastructure we have in our country seems to be quite terrible. Will it actually support a whole exam for all secondary schools in the country, WAEC and NECO, in that way? But just before you respond to that, a moment. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Let's know your name and where you are calling from.
I'm from NECO.
Could you speak up? You sound inaudible.
Hello.
Yes, you are on, but you sound very low. Talk to us and speak up. Project your voice a little more. Okay, quite unfortunate. We lost connection with you. Once you connect with us, project your voice a little more so we can hear you because you sound quite inaudible. Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning. My name is Francis. I'm calling from Akbehir Road.
Name is who?
Francis.
Francis, what's the full name?
Okay, Francis Awodi.
Francis Awodi from Akbehir Road. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. What I like to ask the guests in the studio is that according to the information that by 2026, they like NECO and WAEC to be written on computer base. Is it just a proposal or is it something that is doable? That's my question.
Thank you, Francis Awodi. We'll respond to you. Thanks for calling in. Okay, Engineer Wanshe, you were back to talk to us about whether the CBT examinations are enabled by internet connectivity.
All right, thank you very much for the question. The exams can be administered offline and online. So in most cases, for this, they are administered offline. The exams are computed and are saved on the server, whereby they are taken out and then uploaded to the central system.
Okay, that's fine. Now, Mr. Akile, you listened earlier to Patience Akor. She made a concern about handwriting. And you teachers in schools, you encourage students to have good handwriting. Some of us do not have a good one anyway. So it means when exams are going CBT, you are discouraging students to experiment writing with paper. The truth is, in this era of IT, like I can't remember when last I've written a full page of notes with my pen. It's always with gadgets. Yes. Talk to address that concern, how it will impact.
Okay, thank you. You see, we are supporting that an aspect of this exam should go CBT, and then an aspect of it should be left in the traditional way that it has been done all this while. And I think in that manner, the idea of good handwriting can still be emphasized. For instance, in English language, it's an exam that constitutes 3 papers. There is paper 1, there is paper 2, and then there is paper 3. I think paper 1 and 2, they have to do with OBJ. And the other paper is where a lot of writing is done. So if we are going CBT, what we are simply supporting is that the objective aspect of this exam should go on the CBT. Why the other part that has to do with essay writing, argumentative writing, letter writing, and all of that should be retained in the traditional pen and paper. So that in the OBJ, I feel that the malpractice that I think is the main thing can be checked. And then, in writing, it's very difficult that you write a letter and somebody copies from you.
Yes.
Then the marker will not be able to know it. Once he is able to read your letter and the next person and the third one, and it's the same thing, the person should be able to identify it. So everybody will now focus to write by whatever he or she can be able to put down. So the OPJ can go on the CBT, while the aspect that has to do with writing can be retained, pen and paper. So in that case, the CBT can check malpractice, can also add efficiency to the process, how fast the thing can be done. And then the aspect that has to do with writing can be retained. It will help check or to improve on the writing of the candidates. Because it is not good to completely eliminate writing. Truly, it will get people to write as worse as possible. But if that aspect is retained, some part of it goes CBT, which is the OBJ, and then the other part of it is written with pen and paper. In that case, we can actually encourage students to write very well. In my own school, we emphasize that as a candidate, you must write very well, because this exam is not going to be marked in Benue State. It will be marked maybe in Lagos or Mubi or Kafanchan. You will not be there to explain to the person that this is what I meant. The person will simply judge you by what you have written down.
I understand that some furious examiners, if they see a handwriting and they don't even understand what you are writing, they will simply throw the paper by the side and move on to some other script.
Yes, sometimes it is like that, because you have a lot of papers to mark. You are marking within the time limit, and you want to flow as fast as possible. In fact, when the handwriting is poor, if that page is supposed to carry 10 marks, the candidate may end up scoring around 6 or 7. The ineligibility can actually add to the reduction in marks. The teacher is not able to read through to understand what you are writing. So it can affect you in that regard. There are cases where students write exam and then they put their phone numbers, please call me, because they don't really trust what they have written down. So
That's it.
You can call them so that they can talk about
Oh my
it
goodness.
and all of that.
That reminds me, this just on a light-hearted note. Anyway, why the university during our undergraduate days, one of our classmates came out from exams and was trying to tell us how, while writing the exams, he felt pressed and was in a hurry to leave the exam hall. So he concluded by with a note that said, "Please have pity on me. I was having running stomach." So I had to leave the exam hall,
And that may not really count, because after marking, there's a stage where somebody will check. If the person checking will get to discover that you marked a thing like that, already you're going to be blacklisted. You don't mark it.
Of course.
You go for?
Somebody indicted himself.
Exams, the examiners take their exams quite serious. So again, I will share from my experience. I wrote an exam. This was during my undergraduate studies. Anyway, I missed a question which was compulsory in answering in the exam hall, only to come out and realize from my colleagues that it was meant to be a compulsory question, and I could have answered it conveniently. So I went to the course lecturer and pleaded with him that I never knew the exam. So he told me, understanding the instruction of the exam is also part of the exam. So he said he would just assume that I didn't answer the question and mark what I have. So as I was telling him, thank you, sir, the gentleman politely told me, please don't bribe me with your thank you. Leave my office. Quite a funny experience. Well, that's okay now, Mr. Wanshe. We are gradually winding down. Let's look at the ICT aspect of it. Your colleague has emphasized repeatedly, and it's also the federal government's, the Minister of Education also mentioned that for now, they are going to begin the experiment with the objectives component of the examinations this November, and essay could come in next year during the May-June exam. Talk to us. What needs to be in place in terms of preparedness of schools, in terms of ICT infrastructure to key into this new thing that is coming so that they're not caught unawares?
Thank you very much. Question. In terms of preparedness...
But let me interrupt you briefly. Just wrap up with the course. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, you are the last caller on the program. We give you just 30 seconds to give your thoughts.
John Mark from Unagric.
Mark from where? Unagric.
University of Agric, Makurdi.
All right, go ahead, John Mark.
Yes, it's a very good innovation, and we know that we must start with experiments. It will not be easy because the problem of network in our country. But actually, Engineer Wanshe have already given much clarification there that the server have stations where the other workstations can be connected to. So we think if the good experiment is being given, then taken, then the whole thing will be achieved properly.
Thank you very much, John Mark. Thank you for calling in. That will be the last call we'll take because we do not have time. Now, Engineer Wanshe, you were about to speak to us what the schools need to do ahead of this directive coming from the federal government.
Okay. First, the pilot phase of it, which will be objectives, OBJ.
Yes.
I believe the minister or the government intends to leverage on the existing infrastructure of JAM to conduct this. If not, where else do we have the infrastructure? The infrastructure is largely not available to conduct these exams at that scale. It's not a one-off exam like JAM. Candidates will be expected to come in on different days, up to 9 times, as the case may be, 8 times or 9 times to take these exams. So I believe at this stage, the first pilot stage, this pilot stage will be to leverage on the same infrastructure which JAM is using to conduct these exams. The next stage, which is going to go full, essay and objectives, which is June next year, we still don't have the infrastructure on ground. The infrastructure is largely not on ground to conduct these exams: power, computers, and network, and the rest. So I'm just imagining how, but the government may put in resources, may pump in enough resources for this to be available by that time. And on the one hand, resources, infrastructural resources that I've mentioned. Then we're talking of the manpower, the human capital, the human resources. Candidates, a good number of candidates are not savvy, computer savvy. They don't know how to navigate. They may be able to use their phones to play around and do so many things with the phone. But when they get to a computer, they become a bit jittery. They find it difficult to navigate around the computer, even though it may be a lot easier than even carrying out some functions on the phone. So they need to give it more time so that certain things will be put in place. We don't have to put the cart before the horse. We take these things gradually, and then at the end of the day, it will be very much achievable and achieved at the same time.
All right. Now, Mr. Akile, this will be also your thoughts to conclude. What the level of schools or at the level of educational institutions, what you need to do on the part of teachers and on the part of preparing the students to key into this new development of CBT. And of course, the minister disclosed that a committee is currently reviewing examination standards nationwide, with which recommendations are being expected next month. And by next month, it means next May we are going into. Talk to us.
Okay, thank you. What I will say as a suggestion for the school owners is that this idea is noble and is a welcome development. And what the schools will need to do will be to embrace this idea and see how they can key into this government initiative. If truly they also have the objective of training the students that are put under their care. I think the whole thing boils down to training our children in such a way that by the time they get results, they should be able to defend it. So schools will need to key into this initiative. And then the government will also need to give support where necessary, so that all the schools can be at the same level with what the government is expecting. If that is not done, then the implementation may be shaky, and the aim of this initiative may not be achieved. That is what I think the schools and the government should do, accepting the initiative and then seeing how they can be able to put in the infrastructure. In fact, that a school at this point don't have a computer lab is not correct. I don't think that school is going into the direction that they ought to go, because at this stage we have so many schools trying to go IT. So if a school is still lacking behind, I think that school will need to dress up to be able to meet up with the targets that the government is setting for WAEC and NECO. Maybe at the end of the day, these exam bodies may be tempted to withdraw their centers from schools that may not be ready to key into this, because they have the exams, they know what they want to achieve. So schools should be ready to key into it so that the objectives can be achieved.
All right. And that will be where we'll draw our curtains on today's edition of Perspectives. And I'd like to appreciate very sincerely our panelists on the program. Engineer Kenneth Wanshe is an ICT expert in the Directorate of Information and Communication Technology at the Joseph Sawantaka University. He joined us here on this this edition, which will focus on federal government's directive for computer-based testing for WAEC and NECO. Christopher Akile is a vice principal, Unique Secondary School, New GRA here in Makurdi. Gentlemen, I thank you both for your valuable time and the insights you have provided on this subject matter. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Dear listener, we also thank you for your listenership. We're always here because of you and the contributions you make through calls. We deeply appreciate them. This is a policy the federal government has introduced. Let's see how it's going to be implemented. If there are loopholes that needs to be tightened, of course, we'll always be here to bring you further updates. Join us on Friday for a fresh edition of the program. My name is Nathaniel Nongo. Have yourself a great week ahead. Goodbye.